Hello and good day everyone. Welcome to another Excel VBA tutorial. And for today, what I'm going to share with you is how to work with Excel VBA string functions. And I will try to cover some of the most common use Excel VBA string functions. And today, I will not try to discuss them one by one. Instead, is we will be doing or we will create a tool that and we will build it using different string functions. So for today, we will create a tool which I will call Tn Organizer. That's just how I want to call that. And what this tool does is for example, you have a list of numbers or telephone numbers. The tool should be able to uh, count the total telephone numbers within each range of telephone numbers, and at the same time it should be able to get the list of telephone numbers per range. Okay, so before we start creating our tool, let me show you first the finished tool that I created. So this is just a very simple tool, but later I will share with you how awesome to build a tool like this. So here, what you just only need to do is to paste here the list of telephone or the list of range of numbers, and once you click the start, it should be able to capture how many numbers are within each range. So that should be show in this column, and then at the same time it should list down here all the telephone number in this range, and then followed by the list of telephone number on the second page. So I'll just click start, and here you can see that in the first range we have 12 total telephone numbers, and then I think these are those 12 as we can see here, which is correct, and then another 57 for the next range. Okay, so I believe that there's no existing built-in function in Excel where you can do this thing. That's why this is what are we going to do today. Okay, so I think we can now start creating a new tool which is similar to this. So let me just close this first and open another Excel. Okay, so once you open a new Excel file, make sure to save it first before you do anything. So I will name it again Tn Organizer, and make sure that you will save it as a .xlsm or Excel macro enabled workbook. Okay, and hit save. So now this is our blank worksheet. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is, of course, we need to label our columns. So here is where we will paste all the range of telephone numbers, and then in column B is the count of telephone numbers. I'll just use the TNs, and of course the list of TNs. So let's resize that. I'll just use the same design. Okay, so wait, I think I need to grab a sample. So let me open again this one and make sure to close that. Oops. Okay, and then make sure to open the Excel VBA Editor. So you can do that by going to this tab and then click the Visual Basic icon, or you can just simply press Alt F11 in your keyboard. Okay, what is this? I don't know what is this. But anyway, okay, so we'll start with adding a new module, and then let's name this module. Where is my property window? Okay, okay, so let's name that Tn Organizer. You can name it to whatever you want. Just make sure that the name you will assign here is not a reserved word for VBA. And let's make it TNs for short, telephone numbers. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do here is to create a loop. But again, in the other tutorial that I had, I always make sure to define the worksheet that we will be using first before doing anything. But okay, I forgot. We need to create a subroutine first. So let's make it sub get tns. And now, as I said, we need to define the worksheet or declare it. So I will use, I think, my sheet. So my sh as worksheet. So that's an object type. And then let's assign the value or the name of our sheet. So we'll no longer to use this long code every time we need to deal with this worksheet. Instead, we will be just using the mysh keyword. Okay, so now I think I can just move it here so you can see what's happening. So maybe it's smaller. And then, okay. So the first thing after declaring the worksheet is to create a loop and get this range of telephone numbers. So first we'll need to declare a variable that will hold each range. So let's use the keyword or the word myRange, string, and again, as I always advise or suggest, that whenever you declare a variable, make sure to assign an initial value to it. So or we cannot use the word set. So my range is equals to null. So that's what I always use when I initialize a string data type. So you can do that way, or you can simply use the colon symbol. So you can just have this code in just one line, same here. So if you're not comfortable using that, you can still do the first way that I did. So we have now my sh and my range variable, and now I will be using a for loop. So I think for loop is the best loop that I can use in here. So my loop is equals, so I will be using a variable a, for a is equals to uh, the starting row. So our starting row here is 2, so I will use the number 2 to the last row with value. So how will I know what is the last row with value? So I cannot say 6, but because what if the user pays a range of telephone number until row 10, so I cannot use that way. So I think it's better to declare a variable first, a last row variable, which will be a long data type, and then last row is equals to my sh, which is the word to fetch it tns, that cells rows that count 1, referencing column 1, and that is a lot that row. So what this code will do is to get what is the last row in column 1 or column A with value. So here, if you will try to run this using F8, you will see that the last row is 6. But to make sure that that code is working, let's try to paste value on the other row. And here, what we are expecting is it will give a value of 12 on our variable as row. So just use F8 in your keyboard and here, so it's correct. So if you are confused here, this is what I always use in order to capture the last row with value. So it just simply means that from column 1, because I use the index way, so in column 1, that's A, get the last row with value. So that's indexal of that row. If we will interpret that manually, it's like the Excel goes on the last row, and then using the Control Shift app, as you can see here, it will step on the first row with value from the bottom. That's why it can capture what is the last row with value. So, well, I hope I have explained that clearly. So I think we can now start with the loop, as we now know what is the last row with value. So again, let's use a variable a, and the starting row is equals to 2. So now the end of the loop is equals to last row, whatever the value of that last row variable. And now every loop here, we will assign the value of the active row to our myRange variable. So in order to do that, let's call the variable is equals to mysh.range. So this is the column, and whatever the value of a. So if we were going to test this, again, just press F8 in your keyboard. So the first row is 2, so this should be the first value. We will see that's correct. When we loop again, that's the next value, and it's done. Okay, so I hope you get that, but for those who are still amazed on how the for loop works, I think I can explain that this way. So my sh.range, I will just try to highlight if each cell that is selected every time this loop works. So A and A that select. So if I will use F8 again in my keyword, you can see that the first value is this row or this cell that is currently highlighted by Excel. And then if we try to loop again, you can see that it goes down and it's finished after getting the last value in our loop. So I hope you get that. So now, well, these examples that we have here are easy, so we can easily get the telephone numbers here, but later we have a more complex example. So let's start on this example first so you can grasp the basic idea on how we can get the list of telephone numbers from this range.